Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. I am live here on Facebook and live on Instagram. Thank you all for joining me. My name is Nicole Nifo, and I am a registered massage therapist. I've been in practice for 15 years. I have a focus in my practice working with women pre-postnatally, also with children and babies. And a huge passion of mine in my career has been working with patients who go through cesarean delivery, helping them prepare and also helping them recover, especially through scar work. So I'm just going to wait a minute before we get started here, and then we'll get into the stream topic. Just going to wait a few minutes for some of you to join us. So today's topic is how to feel good about your birth experience, even when things didn't go as planned. So if you have anything to share with us, please do. If you want to just watch, you can always message me after. I love the interaction. If you want to share this with somebody you know, please share that with them. This is a topic that I find comes up a lot in groups that I'm in on Facebook, and also talking with patients as well about how they just didn't get that birth experience they were hoping for, or how there's things about their birth they just don't feel good about. So I want to talk to you guys about that. So we'll just give it a few minutes. If anyone's watching, say hello, give me a little wave. You don't have to type anything, but just give me a little wave. And then we'll get started. I'm just going to quickly make sure that we are live right now on Facebook. Okay, it looks like we are good. Again, if you guys have any questions, please just feel free to ask. If I can't get to them, I'll answer them later. You can also DM me, privately message me on Instagram here or on Facebook. If you have any questions specifically to a cesarean or just your birth in general. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Hello, those of you who are watching. Again, like I said, my name is Nicole Nifo. I'm a registered massage therapist, and I've been in practice for over 15 years. I've become very passionate. I'm also a doula, a birth doula, which I haven't been practicing in the last 5 years. But I've also been practicing in my practice. A lot of focus has been on working with women pre and postnatally, helping them prepare for cesarean deliveries and recover, specifically with scar work. So why am I passionate about this topic, about feeling good about your birth experience? So let's dive back a little bit into my own personal experience. So 5.5 years ago, we were preparing for the birth of our son, our firstborn, and being a doula and a massage therapist and being well connected in the birthing world, I had all of these great ideas that I wanted to incorporate into our birth. And I tend to be a little stubborn and was not looking anywhere else but where I wanted to be with what I wanted with our birth. Unfortunately, things didn't go as I had wanted them to. I had hoped for a planned home birth with my midwives and my doula and my husband. And I had hoped to bring my son into this world in like a very peaceful way at home. We had a birthing pool set up in my son's bedroom at the time, and just had all these ideas of things that we wanting them to go the way they were. So my son ended up being 10 days late, and I make apparently very large babies. This baby that I'm carrying right now is quite large. And they told me that I wouldn't be able to birth him at home because there's a lot of risks with having such a big baby at home. So we went into labor. We did use our pool for just laboring, which was really helpful. And then we transitioned with our midwives to the hospital, our doula. And then, things didn't go the way that I had planned. But you know what? It ended up in a cesarean instead of a vaginal delivery. That was kind of the last thing that I had wanted. I never thought that I would be someone who gave birth via cesarean. I definitely had like a different idea of what a cesarean was in my head, because it is a major surgery. And I wasn't prepared for the feelings afterwards, how I would feel about my birth either. So we gave birth via emergency cesarean. It was a very rough cesarean, a lot of physical trauma happening to my body during that birth. Our son came out big and beautiful, almost the size of a 3-month-old. He was born 10 pounds, 9 ounces. And after that, I was on a road to recovery physically, while emotionally, I pieced together all the bits of my birth that I didn't understand or wanted more, I had a lot of questions about. I ended up getting put under general anesthesia, that's when you're unconscious, during our cesarean, because the health of my body was at risk. So they put me under, and when I woke up in a recovery room, my beautiful little baby was inside my husband's shirt, and was the most picturesque, beautiful thing that I can remember from that day. But it was a really rough experience. And so I have spent the last 5 years, working through some emotions or helping others to work through their emotions about their birth because of what I had been through and understanding how hard it was. Thanks for joining me, everyone. So that's kind of my birth story. So I'm preparing for my next, and we'll get into what I'm doing to prepare for my next. I don't, sit around crying about my birth. I don't, and if you do, that's totally fine. I don't sit and have regret. I feel like I did everything I could to deliver him vaginally, but it wasn't meant to be, right? So over the probably first year, it took me time to put together my birth story, because when I first would tell my birth story, it was shocking. And people were like, oh my gosh, that happened to you? I can't believe it. And it was just the look on their face. They were shocked. And I'm thinking, why are they making that face at me? But so I've had to learn how to tell my birth story in a way that wouldn't maybe trigger someone else, or that wasn't so intense. And also make my birth story something that is special to me, and not just an event that happened, but something that is very meaningful, because birth to me is important. And it's important to me that I feel good about what I've done. Becoming a mother through that process of birth is very important. Whether someone is having a vaginal delivery or a cesarean, they're both equally as important. And so that's what I've been working. That's what I worked on that first year. So my question to you is, do you feel good about your birth? Do you feel good about your birth story? You don't have to answer it here, but I would love for you to type something to me. But that's something I want you to think about. Do I feel good about my birth story? Do I feel good about what happened? Do I feel good about the outcome? Do I feel good about how I feel now, or preparing for my next baby? Do I even want to have any more kids? And if I don't, is it something to do with my birth? I think there's a lot we can do with healing ourselves emotionally and physically after childbirth. Unless you've enlisted the help of a doula or a midwife, or you're part of a community that talks about childbirth, a lot of people feel like they have babies and then they're kind of deserted, and that there's no support after. A lot of topics come up like postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, but maybe those aren't the things that you're feeling. Maybe it's just that you feel like you had a hard delivery, and you want to talk about it, or you don't feel good about it and you're not sure why. So it's really important for us to talk about these things, talk about it with people that are not judgmental, and people that will just listen, because sometimes we just want someone to listen. So the first thing that I recommend to patients, and I even did myself, is writing down your birth story. Write it all out. Take a moment, look at it. Is this how I remember? Is this how I felt? Is this what I wanted? What part of this birth story went the way I wanted and maybe the way I didn't? Some of you maybe had no idea what you were going into with birth, and afterwards you feel like a lot just happened to you. So what are the things that you can look back and feel good about and not feel good about, and why? Why don't these things make you feel good? Why doesn't it feel good that the nurses were pushing epidural on you? Or why don't you feel good that you really wanted to lay on your side, but the doctor wouldn't allow you to be in any other position than your back when you were pushing? Or why don't you feel good about your partner not supporting you in the way you needed, or not being asked if they could do a procedure on you or test while you were in labor. So write all these things down and then look at it. And then see what you can tweak in there, see what you can take out from that story and where you can maybe grow from it, because that's life, right? Like we all go through different experiences, and it's important for us to take those experiences and grow and learn from them, because if we don't, we get stuck. And getting stuck, we tend to tell ourselves these stories, and those stories can now start to dictate our life. And I know that a lot of us don't want to be stuck in these stories of being a victim or having bad experiences and not knowing how to get out of it. So write things down, kind of dissect how everything went, and think about why you feel good or why you didn't. The second thing that I tell people is, with that birth story, what parts of that story can you make your new story? It doesn't all have to be like positive and special and all this stuff. Your birth story can have parts and bits of it that maybe didn't go great, but they don't have to be so intense. I remember when I first wrote my birth story out, I was blogging my last pregnancy, and I wrote it out and I was like, oh, I can't post this. People are going to be like, what the heck happened to you, Nicole? So I rewrote it, thinking that it was actually like more toned down and not as intense. And what ended up happening, and it was, but what ended up happening is when I posted it, the amount of messages I got, first of all, from people saying like, wow, I went through a very traumatic birth as well. I know exactly how you feel, and you're going to get better. And I feel better because I went through it. So you're going to get better. Then I had people messaging me saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. I never want to have children. And I thought, well, that is the last thing I wanted with my birth story, was to inhibit someone from wanting to have children because of what I went through. But the reality is that pregnancy can be hard. Birth can be hard. Parenting can be hard. Hi, Peanut. And so that's the reality. And I think that like, if we try to pretend like all of these moments, getting pregnant, being pregnant, having babies, being a parent, if we try to pretend like these are all beautiful, amazing moments, then we're not doing that next generation of parents any service, or each other really, because then we start judging each other. So being honest about how hard things are and how hard they can be and the realism of it, I think is important. So although I felt bad that parent or that woman had that reaction from my birth story, like, I never want to have kids because of what you went through, knowing that that's a possibility. I mean, anything's possible. We could walk down the street or drive our car down the street and someone hits us, right? Like, it's not like you plan for these things to happen. But I think when these things happen in our lives, they make us stronger if we allow them to. And that's definitely how I feel about my birth. And that's how I've been able to transform it. So the second thing, so the first one was acknowledge how you felt and why from your birth and write it down. The second thing is take the parts of your birth that you can actually make into a story, so that when you're talking about it to people, or you're sharing it, or you're writing it out in one of those little baby books, which I never did because I was too lazy, you can feel proud about yourself, and you can say like, you know what, I did a good job. Because I think, again, as mothers, we're so hard on ourselves, and we always have ways to critique and judge ourselves. So write down the things that you feel good about and make that your birth story. Not to ignore the things that you don't feel good about, but don't give them power and don't give them energy. Okay, focus on the things that you feel good about. So for my birth, I feel good about the fact that like I had this team of people. I had midwives and a doula and my husband, and like I felt so supported, so supported. Another thing, I tried literally everything to avoid my cesarean. I labored for 40 hours. I got the gas, which made me feel really high. I got the epidural. I did ice glove, which was a little uncomfortable. I got up on a squatting bar. I tried to push him. Like, I literally did everything I could that I felt like I needed to try to deliver him vaginally. You can see how I'm not saying naturally, because that's not the natural way for my body, but vaginally. And it didn't work, and that's okay. And so at the end of it, when I had to go and get the emergency cesarean, it wasn't like I felt like my body failed itself or that it didn't do what it needed to do, because Unfortunately, these things are out of our control. It's a lock and key, right? And sometimes things just don't fit. So those are a couple of the things. I mean, I have more that I focus on, but those are a couple of the things that I can focus on for my birth that I feel so good about, okay? So I want you guys to do that as well. Another thing that like really gets to me and bothers me, and I think sometimes that story gets in our heads and then that makes us feel worse about ourselves if you didn't feel like you had a great birth experience, was it's not that just you and the baby are healthy and alive. Like, of course, that's an important part of childbirth. We want moms and babies to be healthy and survive and then to be able to thrive after. But that's not the only thing. I think your story is important to you. The birth of this is a birth of a mother. I'm going to post this link. It's from the New York Times. I don't know when did they do this, 2017. And they talk about the birth of a mother and how, you know, like, it's not just an event. It's not like a one day like, oh, I had a baby. It's like, no, this is like you transitioning into this new phase of your life, you and your partner. So it is an important thing. I'm going to post this because I want you guys to read it. So let's focus on those things that you feel good about and make that your birth story. The third thing, and again, I practice what I preach here, is get support from friends, family, community. Like there's tons of Facebook groups. There's a lot of mom and baby groups. Some are very focused on specific ideas, like if you like to baby wear or you're breastfeeding or you just want to go be with people who like to knit or something. So join a group online virtually. There's tons of Facebook groups. If you have had a cesarean, I have a group called C-Section Moms Plan, Support, and Recover, which I'm also going to post the link. You can join that on Instagram. If you go to my link in my bio, you'll see that the Facebook group is on there. And on Facebook here, I'll post a link in the comments. So that's our community. And therapy. Therapy is another one that is like a tool that some people like really avoid. They think that like it's a bad thing to go to therapy, but it's actually a really good thing. So, you know, like talking to friends and family. So for me, sharing my story with my friends and family, talking to friends that had a similar experience and, you know what, just crying about it, just like getting the emotions out and connecting and saying, man, that was hard. And for them to say, you know what, Nicole, like that was hard, but you know what, look at you now, like you're doing great. And for me, and vice versa, right? You want to feel like you've connected to somebody. You're not the only one, because guarantee you're not. You're not the first person that doesn't feel good about their birth experience. You're not the last. It could be the littlest thing that like from the outside, people think, wow, she pushed her baby out so quickly and she did all these things that you think are good as an experience, but that mother doesn't feel good about maybe something else. She doesn't like the way someone talked to her or that someone walked into the room when she wasn't, you know, in that mode, in that moment to receive them. So it could really be anything. And with the therapy, I have enlisted the help of a psychotherapist because I'm being truth and honest here. Her company is called Counting Butterfly. She's in Milton, Ontario. She is amazing. She's a psychotherapist and she works with like pre-postnatal women, kids, birth trauma. And although I never really felt like I had a big trauma, like I was traumatized and I couldn't live my life, I knew that preparing for this baby to come, and she's coming via planned cesarean, that I would need to get my head strong and into the game, kind of, so to speak. And I wanted to make this next birth experience the most positive that it can be. And I wanted to, I'm a planner. I love planning. And so I wanted to plan for it. Yes, I'm not having a spontaneous vaginal delivery, but it doesn't mean that I'm not having a baby. Having a cesarean is still having a baby. And I think there's a lot of information out there it's missing when empowering women planning for a cesarean, because you're still planning for a baby to come. It's just coming in a different way. So I've enlisted her help and I've seen her a couple of times, and you know what? It's so positive because it's such a safe place to share how you're feeling about things, how you maybe felt last time, and getting into the mode again of checking in with yourself. You know, I want to make sure I have the best postpartum recovery and experience. And a part of that is making sure that I'm in the right mindset. And so I thought, you know what? I tell all my patients to go to see a therapist. Why don't I try one out and see how it goes? So you know, all these things that I'm doing for self-care while I'm pregnant is going to help make that postpartum experience even better. And you know what? I can't control what happens after my cesarean because I may not feel good, or I may feel anxious or depressed or not good about things. And that's the reality. But the main thing is getting the tools to be able to handle situations a little bit easier. Okay. So those are my 3 tips. And like I said, you know, there's a lot of people out there who have birth experiences that they don't necessarily feel proud of or good about. And that is very common. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be the only one feeling like that. I'm sure there's tons of people who have those same feelings and experiences as you. So, you know, write them down, try to work through it with a family member that you trust and love as well. If you need to enlist the help of a community or a therapist, and try to kind of work through these emotions so that you can live your life enjoying the present moment instead of living in the past. So yeah, thank you everyone who joined us today. I will post the topic for next week soon. If you have any ideas or comments about any of my live videos that we're doing, please comment or DM me. And I will definitely share those ideas as well. If you'd like to be a guest on our Facebook Live, Instagram Live, I would love that as well. I'm always looking for people who've had experiences or who are an expert in the field of working with perinatal women, specifically related to cesareans. And yeah, I hope you all have an amazing day, Facebook and Instagram. And I will see you next week.